We have a special edition of Taking Care of Business this week. I am joined by Professor Michael Waters, who has just launched a new book called The Essential Guide to Dubai Real Estate.
So there's a comparison in terms of, the returns you can receive and the opportunity. Obviously, the big one is the short-term letting. Dubai as a touristic hub that's a huge enabler of people investing.
Before we wrap things up, we've got a couple of things. So we talked about the future of Dubai, and a couple of things you talked about was sustainability, and what was the other thing we talked about?
Smart cities.
Smart cities.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about that. We have a special edition of Taking Care of Business this week. I am joined by Professor Michael Waters, who has just launched a new book called The Essential Guide to Dubai Real Estate. Hi Michael, welcome.
Hi Kyle.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. Yourself?
So an exciting week for you.
It is, busy, yeah.
So what have you, what's different about this week for you? Tell me, you've got a little launch that's just happened.
Yeah, so one of my gifts to the market is my new book, which is, as you said, The Essential Guide to the Dubai Real Estate Market. That was officially launched by the publisher yesterday.
Very good. Well, congratulations. So it's not normal on Taking Care of Business to have an academic. So we're privileged. You can kind of raise the bar a little bit of the of some of the things that we're talking about today. So we've asked Michael to come on in line with obviously his book launch. To my knowledge, it's if not the first, one of very, very few books that really dig deep into what it takes to buying a property and the mechanics of a Dubai real estate, and really what the future may look like. So it's something I'm very much looking forward to reading. It was, as I say, out yesterday. Tell us a little bit about yourself, Michael. You've been here since when?
Dubai? 2009. So I came here with the university. So I've been a loyal employee of the university for 14 years, and I was coming out to launch our MSc in real estate program, which is a program that we have to train the industry to become chartered surveyors, and that can be property valuers, that can be commercial real estate advisors.
Does that have any tie-up with RICS at all back home?
It does, yeah.
Okay.
So the program is accredited by RICS. Students will come on, do our program, and sort of 2 years of workplace training with a firm would be able to become a surveyor.
So that's really interesting. So today, obviously, which university do you work at?
Heriot-Watt University.
Heriot-Watt University.
Scottish one. Based in Edinburgh, but obviously in Dubai as well.
Okay. So someone today wants to get into being a surveyor.
Yep.
Obviously, come to you guys. How does it work? What do they have to do? What does the work entail?
So most of our students, a large portion of our students are actually working, so they're using the qualification to upskill, and our courses are delivered on our campus in Knowledge Park in the evening and weekends.
Yep.
So it's really designed for people to earn at the same time as learning.
Yep.
Or learning and earning,
yep,
whichever way you want to look at it.
So they can have a normal day job, studying the weekends or night time.
Yeah. So we kind of give the path of either sort of someone moving up within a firm, so they want to become more senior management level, or we have people who've kind of been working in different aspects of real estate, and they want to get into some more of the, I would call it, strategic business careers that are built around the real estate industry.
Very interesting. Okay, so a little bit about the book then. What was the reason why you decided to write it? Obviously you've been here a little while now, and you've seen a lot of change in the Dubai real estate market. What kind of preempted you to say, right, this is the right time now to do this?
Okay, so I think it was just, as I've been teaching and delivering information to different audiences, it was the fact that, as you said at the start, there was a lack of a sort of a good book that covered a wide range of topics. So I would say it's fairly syllabus led. So I'm talking about things that I talk in the classroom, but I've also written it in the way that it's not highly academic. It's supposed to be something that you can pick up, you can read. Oh, I didn't know this about Dubai, or I've never thought about looking at the way you have in analysing, a property purchase here. I haven't really got any knowledge or too much knowledge about how do I start investing in real estate here. So there's been a whole journey of evolution, I think, in the industry, which at the point of starting to write the book, I thought I've really got to sort of put some of these ideas down, try and put it in a clear way so that people benefit from knowing more about Dubai.
Did a lot of your experiences or the reason for writing the book, because you're an investor in Dubai, right? So,
yeah. Yes, I have.
To be honest, you are.
Yeah.
You've invested in Dubai. Was it because of your investing experience, or was it really driven by really speaking or just doing the job every day and thinking that actually I can offer a bit more to what I'm doing?
Yeah, I think the point. Yeah, the point is that I've been here for an extensive period of time, and I wanted to sort of share some of those insights. Not that I'm someone that everyone should listen to in that way, but from a different aspect, an impartial aspect. I'm not writing a book to create more sales for a business that I own, or I'm not writing it for any other. I'm not launching a software platform and talking about that. So it was just an opportunity to try and give something back and say, look, this is my view on the market. I've worked here. I've had the benefit of working here, observing market practices, and it's also not just written. I have linked in with industry to give their insights. Obviously, I'm limited to how much I know, so I've enriched the book by reaching out to my connections to give their insights as well, to the benefit of the people reading it.
We were talking off camera, and I think a lot of people in Dubai don't know really what it takes to buy a house in Dubai. Obviously, there's lots involved with the process, but to get to the point of moving here and then eventually buying, tell us a little bit about your learnings or thought process from someone at day zero. They've moved to Dubai, to working here, establishing a life, to eventually buying. Tell us what you found there. We had a bit of a debate about that, didn't we?
Yeah, I guess my entry to Dubai was a bit fortunate looking back. I came in 2009. There's a lot of panic,
yeah,
and there was also a lot of opportunity. And I was probably at that point where I was either gonna, if I would have stayed in the UK, I was gonna have bought something there for the reason that I wanted to get on the property ladder. I was in Dubai, and I thought, well, I still want to be here for at least 5 years. Let me put some money down. I am teaching real estate. I should preach a little bit what I practice and preach. So I think that enabled me. But I think for anyone looking now, you've got to, it's a planning process, and some of the elements of the book is about how much should you set aside, and that doesn't mean stop living and breathing in Dubai, but it just gives people an idea of the level of commitment to now save for that 20% deposit. And of course, it is challenging at the moment with the price appreciation that we've seen. So it's giving a bit of a yardstick as to, if you're thinking about investing here, how long does that planning process need to be? Where should you keep your money? What kind of assets should you put your money in? Building up?
Will we see you on Breakfast TV as the new Martin Lewis of money saving in Dubai?
Well,
because that's what we're trying to get at, really, isn't it? But it's a little bit of education of really what it takes to save for your first property or a property in Dubai.
Yeah, I mean, I think the conversations that I have, we could say dinner table conversations, but just conversations anyway, is the attitude is changing. Before it was very much everything goes home. I'm investing at home. Now people are starting to see the benefits of investing here, and so one of the chapters is looking at that in a real objective sense to say, what does Dubai offer you as a real estate market, as an expat working here, and how does it help diversify your saving for the future?
I don't want to spoil the book too much, because obviously we'd encourage people to read it, and certainly I'll be doing the same. But when you speak to people across the dinner table about investing here versus back home, what's the main driver? I mean, most people everyone needs somewhere to live.
Yeah.
And you've got a choice between renting or buying, but is tax a factor? What's the biggest driver of placing money here? Because you're right in what you're saying. I mean, I've seen a big dynamic shift where I think when I moved here in 2008, every single person had the mindset of, I'm going to be here for 2 years or an amount of money and I'm going home.
Yeah.
Because obviously around the world, a lot of countries are really suffering. Is it keeping people here longer now because of what's happening back home? What is it from speaking to people?
I think I think just the city's got to a phase, it's got to a scale where people actually can see the lifestyle benefits here. It's not fragmented. We have all the, we have the best F&B, amenities. We have a lot of good infrastructure for both singles and families, and so it's an appealing city to be in. And I think probably now is where all of that hard work that Dubai has put in terms of creating a city had to go through that building process. And probably when you and I came, it was still very fragmented, the places that we went to. But now if you look at the diversity of choice, where not only where we live, work and invest, there's a whole range of things that just I personally think make Dubai one of the best places. Because I used to go back to the UK and be like, oh, we don't have this in Dubai. But I don't. As I said it before we started, I haven't been back to the UK. And some of those reasons are because we've got everything here, but certainly the infrastructure's improved.
You miss. What I've realised, it's a good point you're saying. I feel like you miss home less because the country, the city, has accommodated for practically everyone. Whether it's even like just silly things like your favourite food, for example. There's a lot more choice now, a lot more availability, and what's impressed me most about the city and my optimism for the future is certainly how the last several years, I've seen so much improvement really in the last 3 years than probably I had in the previous 10. And I think maybe that's through younger leadership and certainly coming up and having their say on things.
I think one of the things that Dubai's benefit is the way it's governed. And I think I heard this week that the UK, again our home country, they've had 5 or 6 prime ministers in sort of 3 years, isn't it, or something ridiculous?
I think 40 odd days for one of them.
So that knocks confidence that that blueprint of where the city's going is it's fuzzy. Whereas here you say, well, these are the plans. We're now looking to 2040. This is what we're going to build. This is where it's going to be built. These are our aspirations. It's almost the business plan. It's the investment business plan for people. And again, referenced to some of the stuff in the latter part of the books is how is it going to be? How is it going to be as a future city?
Do you think people? So from a business owner, hearing a 2030 plan, 2040 plan is music to my ears, because it tells me there's a vision, there's a goal, there's something they want to work towards. So for me, it's great because me and Lewis always talk about every car on the road, and the roads are really busy at the moment. Every car on the road is a future client or a potential client. But do you think for someone just living here, that matters to someone about seeing the plan for the Dubai's future? As a business, it's great, but for someone that doesn't have an invested interest in a business, do you think people care?
Well, I think they do. I mean, as I said, linking it to an investment, like if I was saying, look, what sometimes people would say, look, I'm only going to be here 3 years. I said, well, have it as an investment then. You don't need to live here to have an investment in Dubai. So it does offers the confidence of just showing what the city's going to look like. And again, aspirational, but I think what we know by looking back is that the government have delivered on most of the metrics that they've laid out previously. I think people are basing themselves here. Early on in Dubai's history, its advantage was its geographical position. That's not changed. The world, its sort of geography hasn't changed. So that still is an advantage, particularly for families who are split across different countries. They base themselves here. They're close to Europe. They're close to Australia, Asia, wherever the mix is. So it certainly is appealing from that perspective as well.
How much does looking back factor in looking forward in your view of the real estate market? Because there's been a lot of change.
It'll make you cry when you look at the numbers.
Really?
The price per square foot,
But it's not. I know what we're selling exactly at the time. I know how quickly and how steep the decline was over a 6-12 month period. You know, when the Lehman Brothers and a lot of the banks collapsed in the US, days you were losing hundreds of thousands on a property every single day. It was crazy. And I think what we were talking about off camera was that the difference today and obviously 15 years ago was that there's so much liquidity in this market right now. Obviously, with banks, you have the entry to marketplace. You now have to put down a substantial deposit, whereas 15 years ago, I'm sure, from memory serving right, you could get 90 or even 95% mortgages.
Yeah.
So, what does that, looking back on obviously Dubai then and now, what are the biggest differences from aside from liquidity?
Well, I think on that reference to the central bank and the loan to values that came in, and I sort of anchored them at 2013 is when we had this revolution of saying, look, no more sort of, if you like, free lending. We had this increase in transfer fees, and we had the more stringent loan to values, which obviously came down in the last couple of years. But it's dampened the volatility of the market, which is a good thing, because again, when people invest, you know, I look at over a 12-month period during the financial crisis and 2013-14, and you know, I look at it at points where the market's increased and where it's decreased, and the gap in that same time period is very different. You're going to be in a position in the financial crisis where you're in significant negative equity, whereas with the higher caps, yes, it's hard work it does close the door short term, but it also means that when you do invest, you're not going to have those jumpy values. And I think just on one other point is that the availability of data that's come into the market is also to the benefit. So those two things together, I would say, are good long-term stabilizers of the market.
When we talked about that tech and data, so I think that for me, information is so important. One, for obviously the stability of the marketplace, but I always say when people are buying, they buy an emotion and justify with logic. And obviously the data is the logic. When someone's buying a property, let's say someone's living in a house, do you, to buy in the home, do you think data is important to them?
If they're an end user?
Yeah, end user.
Yeah. I mean, it's useful to the point of understanding where you're buying in the cycle, but I think, and sometimes people who are investing money, you know, if they haven't bought with some significant sort of plan behind it, you know, then when there is a downturn, they get nervous and they panic and everything else happens, and it unravels as an investment like it would in any case. But I think, there is a difference between, I think, an end user, you know, principally, you've got utility, you've got the house, you've got the security, it's for your family, it's to avoid those awkward conversations with the landlord when they want to sell or when they want to try and evict you for changing the rents and so on. So it gives you the utility value, and I've always looked at it, you know, I've never invested here on a speculative basis. I try not to speculate. So I've done it on a more utility-based approach.
You talk about speculation, and I'm a salesman, so and I have been since I left school at 16. It's all I've done. Obviously, as years gone by, I've, you know, obviously looked at different sides of the business and learned a bit more. But in a really strange way, I love a boring single-digit property market growth. I don't like this whoop up 20, 30, 40% because it isn't sustainable. You know, if we can get low, mid, 4, 5, 6% a year, that's good for me. I'm happy with that. And I think investors here in Dubai are starting to come around to what 4, 5, 6% is good. It's normal, certainly more than the UK anyway. And actually not seeing that massive spike in prices. I think people are welcoming the fact there's a lot more control, there's more measures. Like we said off camera, one of the most important things in the last few years for me is the efforts at government level to really harness our marketplace and harness my competition and us as a business to say, no, these are the things you have to do. For example, the introduction of smart forms. We talk about tech off camera, and the involvement of tech in Dubai as a whole has made things so much easier. I think living here is you can do everything on your phone these days.
Yep.
Whether it's the other day I bought a car, and I was able to register the car. I was able to pay my fines. I was able to do my SATIC all in at the touch of my thumb, which is incredible.
Yeah.
You do that back home, it's like, no, I've got to go here, I've got to send this, I've got to do that. So technology as a whole, I feel, has been a huge enabler. For example, one of the biggest issues in the market last few years has been fake listings.
Yep.
So if you don't know, in Dubai real estate market, you may have adverts placed online with a property portal from an agency of a property that when you call about it, all of a sudden that property is not available. Okay, it probably was never available in the first place anyway. So what they've done in the last couple of years is the DLD, Dubai Land Department, have introduced smart forms. So essentially what we have to do now is, for every single listing, we have to get an owner to digitally acknowledge and sign from their registered email address that they are given permission for that real estate brokerage to advertise their property, and that's limited to 3 real estate agencies. It's been loosely in place for many, many years. However, certainly in the last 18 months, it's been, no, you must do this, otherwise these are the repercussions. What the impact of that is it's decreased the amount of advertisements online, and actually it's probably played a part in controlling prices also, because this perception of, oh, there are 50 properties available in Jumeirah Golf Estates when actually there's only 4.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. No, I think all of that helps, certainly.
What differences has the book talked about with this marketplace and more established big cities across the world? What the differences which allows this place to be somewhere in the future to invest in? What were some of the things you've seen?
Okay, well, we've touched on one of the major things, which is the governance, the long-term vision, investing, because Dubai as a business, if you treat investing as a business, it's got a good long-term strategy behind it that is unlikely to shift largely away from that. Comparatively speaking, I've kind of looked at the transparency side of things, what's evolved in terms of, and really helping maybe international investors and new entrants who have just come to Dubai, just understand what portals and platforms they can look at, and the impact that's going to have on sort of benchmarking Dubai with other global cities. We do have some metrics that we can compare the local market with international markets, but I would say that the analysis has always been looking at these traditional mature markets, looking at, so one of the chapters is on diversification and using Dubai as part of your portfolio. So there's a comparison in terms of, the returns you can receive and the opportunity. Obviously the big one is the short-term letting. Dubai as a touristic hub that's a huge enabler of people investing for multiple sort of uses. They might buy it as an end user, they might then turn it into a short-term rental like people did during Expo. So your investment turns into different, it's dynamic, the same as it would be. So I think it offers a better investment than some of the more mature markets now, because some of the cities where I'm in the UK, they're not hotspot tourist destinations. They serve the people that work there.
Yep.
Whereas I think Dubai offers a lot more dynamic and fluid investment opportunities. And also, even as we were talking about younger investors or first-time buyers, they can invest in platforms on a crowd-funded basis. Yeah, those things are also attractive, and they're regulated by the IFC and other things that have also evolved with the market. So people who want exposure to real estate don't necessarily have to hamper for that.
So we'll touch on that very quickly. Obviously, we won't name names of these companies, but essentially what you can do is you can buy a percentage of a property, could be for 5,000 dirhams, 10,000 dirhams, and your amount of money would basically go in a pot or a pool with other people's investments, and essentially this company would buy on your behalf, or you'd own a fraction of that property. So you could own a property today for as little as 5, 10, 15,000 dirhams and receive regular returns in comparison to what your investment's been, which is, I keep in touch with what's happening around the world with the real estate markets, and more so in the UK. I don't think I've seen that anywhere, like on an app where you can invest there and then. Do you?
I don't. Well, yeah, there may be similar platforms, but I don't know of any in the home market either. But also DLD allow, I think it's up to 4 owners can be on a title deed through fractional ownership, which is again a sort of syndicate of buyers. So there are more affordable ways to get access to the market, which people can evaluate and build up the equity to then invest in something themselves.
You used the word affordable then, so I think one of the most overused words in the newspapers, in the press and everything, is high net worth individuals. So we've clearly seen a massive influx in the last 12 months from different parts of the world, whether it's Europe, Eastern Europe, and the impact of that is we've seen a huge shift in developers change their appetite for what they're building. So 3, 4, 5 years ago, there was, certainly 2019, around that period, there was a huge focus on villa townhouses, 3 bedrooms, launching sub 1.3, 1.4 million. Since the last 12 months, when we've seen this huge influx of money coming into Dubai and high net worth individuals, practically every single launch at the moment is either branded, it's either above 20, 25, 30 million dirhams. Do you feel that, from your perspective, do you think we're getting a bit carried away with trying to serve that side of the market and not forget actually the people that come here and want to buy their first home?
Well, I think we've got to separate those two. They are obviously clearly different, servicing different sections of the market. So I think one of the I'm just trying to think of some of the stats that I put in the book about ultra high net worth individuals, and I think back 10 years ago, the city was being planned for like 9.5 million, and obviously that population wasn't there, so it was servicing a huge amount of foreign capital. And I think one of the things that's kind of aligned with that is the value side of Dubai in that segment of the super prime market, because you've got these huge extravagant villas, and we're coming out of a period of time where you're probably going to look around globally and say, I can get us something similar, giving me a similar lifestyle, 5 times cheaper than more mature markets, even though to me the price tags are unaffordable. So I'm not in that bracket. But I think from that perspective, yes, it's all relative to the fact that people will naturally look at what does Dubai offer. Not just as a space, so there's more space, what's the lifestyle, the climate, all the add-on F&B stuff that we were talking about, that's all going to add into. And even when we look at the sort of granular level of apartment building, you've got a gym, you've got a concierge, you've got a pool, and those services you don't get. Well, I don't get them where I grew up.
Now, do you know what Lewis, my business partner Lewis, said actually interesting a couple of weeks ago. He owns a property in Earls Court, London, and that property is beautiful looking on the outside, but there's no concierge there. And he actually said now he knows what he knows living here. His next purchase, he would like the nice it is. I mean, what we're finding with these developments, and the frequency is so huge with these developments. I still believe there's actually probably not enough to service the amount of people here living here. The caveat to that, though, is in the UK, we talked about off camera, there is a certain percentage of a requirement for the home builder to have affordable housing in their development for every new development. I honestly believe that either a developer or a development should have a requirement every year to require and build a level of affordable housing for that sector. I feel like it's being neglected right now, and I feel like we can't forget that every single person coming into this country needs to start somewhere, and we can't just focus on one end of the marketplace, because that upward effect of what I'm seeing is, I'm seeing chain building, which has never happened in, certainly 15 years ago in the UK. You buy a house and typically you sell your house to buy the next one. That hadn't happened 10 years ago, 7 years ago, but we're seeing it now where people are living here, they're selling their home and they're linking that purchase to another onward purchase. But we still need to cater for that entry level where someone wants to live in a townhouse or a villa that's affordable. Maybe they don't want to live in an apartment. I just feel like moving forward, I feel like that has to be a factor on future developments.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there is a history of, 2014, when we were talking affordability, because it was at the top of the second cycle. Again, a certain product went out to the market and it kind of oversupplied the market. So there might be new mechanisms where where the developer withholds a certain amount of units and offers sort of subsidised rent, and they have the long-term income stream off that. That would work. That fits into some of the kind of build-to-rent models that we see in other markets.
Yeah.
And
I think it's likely we see that. I think that's a sophisticated angle on property ownership, and I think it's definitely, they call it shared ownership in the UK. So essentially, you can buy 50% of a property. The remaining 50% you would pay in rent to, it'd be nominal rent, but it'd be rent to the developer to allow that person to be able to purchase and get onto the marketplace at a lower price point. So I definitely feel like there's definitely legs in that, certainly moving forward. Before we wrap things up, I've got a couple of things. So we talked about the future of Dubai, and a couple of things you talked about was sustainability, and what was the other thing we talked about?
Smart cities.
Smart cities, yeah. Tell us a little bit about that.
So yeah, so the sort of the waves of what's happening next are kind of the concluding thoughts in this book. So one of the messages is about attracting more institutional capital. People, institutions, the funds, pension funds, they want to be putting money in the Middle East, and buildings that are green rated is probably going to be the path for them to do that. So case studies like ICD Brookfield Place, which are hugely successful projects and have had a huge amount of interest from occupiers that are trying to comply with ESG and everything else. They're going to be really, similar structures will be a good investment vehicle to bring foreign capital into Dubai that want exposure to the Middle East. So I talk about the evolution of it. So it gives people a bit of a picture as to both commercially and residentially where's that lying. And of course the blueprint of the future is based around provision of social spaces, more green parks, cycle paths, and all these other aspects.
Is Dubai caught in the crosshairs though of it has to be sustainable, like you say, to attract investment, and also to be responsible to the environment? But obviously the biggest driver of the economy, or one of, or was previously, was fossil fuels. Yeah, is that kind of the caught between a difficult place?
Well, I think the economy led off oil and so on is quite small for Dubai now, and the only thing that counters sustainability is the building, the whole. But this is an issue that faces the whole real estate market globally, is that we're building new rather than looking at our existing stock, repurposing that stock, maybe being more efficient with our usage of spaces, and I focus that more on the commercial occupier, not residential. And then the second part is this smart cities. What's the aspiration of Dubai from a digital perspective, and how is it trying to build? What kind of new industries? Again, diversifying the economy away from oil is one of the things that Dubai's done really well. So the digital economy is where Dubai's really trying to anchor in and bring more flexible, ways of working, but also attract talent. So one of the metrics that you assess the competitiveness of a city, so globally ranking how attractive a city is the talent and the knowledge and the skills that workforce have. So Dubai is really focused on bringing that human capital into Dubai, not just the financial capital.
Got a bit of a curveball for you.
Okay.
Okay. Do you think cryptocurrency will play a part in real estate in the future? Because we talk about tech, and obviously Dubai in general is massively embraced cryptocurrency. I have, depending on what day you get me on, I have different views. But it'd be interesting to see what your thoughts on blockchain and to enough people to understand what it is to have it make an impact in the day-to-day real estate.
I think again, if we talk about evolutions, we're probably at that point where a lot of people are talking about it, and they're trying to place it as, we're the first platform to let you buy, but you're still going back to the fiat currency of whatever you're cashing out in. I think blockchain and the technology behind crypto is going to be good, because it's going to you were talking about the efficiency of the transfer process and buying and selling. That transactional process can be done much more, enabled on a blockchain platform, and we will. I mean, I had a conversation about what's the metaverse going to look like for corporate occupiers and all these things, and part of me is kind of skeptical about it, but also that's where the world is seemingly wanting.
You know what? I don't want to ignore the metaverse. I don't want to be ignorant. I don't want to be that guy, but I can't get my head around living with a pair of goggles in my life.
And glasses, it's not that different.
I know, but you can't see other people. I mean, I think the biggest, I'm going off on a tangent here, but the biggest leveler on the metaverse or experiencing life through a set of goggles will be, in my view, what Apple does, because they tend to be the kind of the forefront of most good things, and then everyone else kind of follows suit. So it'll be interesting to see how that plays out. You've got a book. You've got a particular chapter in your book, and we'll wrap it up here. So the chapter says, building a global real estate portfolio with Dubai Real Estate.
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
What do I mean by that? So I'm addressing the audience, an expat audience who are living here. They're investing. Obviously, they're trying to build up some financial security while they're here. And I've just looked objectively at Dubai. How has it performed as a price history over the sort of 20 years? So it's on average around the 4% per annum mark. It's not as choppy and wild as some of the newspaper headlines suggest. And of course, we're talking about a city average as well. But also, what are the strengths of diversifying? So you've got it backed by a US, basically a US pegged currency. So that's attractive. So for going through what I've gone through, if I'd have invested all my money in sterling back home as a scenario, I'm going to be worse off today in US purchasing power than I would have done if I hadn't have invested.
What was the currency when you come in? What was the rate?
Probably 7.
Yeah, it was 7 dirham.
Close to 7.
Unbelievable. Well, 4.5 today.
Made this look expensive, didn't it? Yeah. Or the other way around. Anyway, so there's the currency play as well. There's the I actually looked at some of the more popular districts and said, look, if you'd have invested over a 10-year period, would you have done better than a global stock bond portfolio type equation, which a lot of people that I speak to who are looking to invest, they typically do that kind. And Dubai outperformed in some of the more established districts.
Really? Even with the volatility over the last 10 years?
Yeah, last 10 years.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the core sort of Dubai residential markets outperformed on a price growth percentage. What other things? Just again the fact that I think towards the end of the chapter, looking as Dubai as the opportunity to leverage off elsewhere. So you wouldn't want to put all your money in crypto. You don't want to put all your money in UK real estate. So how does Dubai serve you? And it's probably built off the back of a utility argument, but of course I've looked at the pure investment performance. If you had invested, these are the returns, this is what you would have received. It's just to kind of open up a discussion about Dubai objectively and examine it and try and demyth some of the, it's too volatile, it's too expensive, it's too X, Y, and Z.
Are you a bull or are you a bear on the future of Dubai real estate market?
I've always been a bull.
Yeah?
Yeah, I've always been a bull, yeah.
Good. Right, so before we wrap things up, we have your book. Where can people find it? Well, how much it costs? How did they buy it?
So there's two main places to buy the book. You can buy it directly on Amazon. The publisher, which is Routledge, also allow you to buy directly from their website. And today I'm going to give your listeners an exclusive discount code. If you
Wow, what a man. It's Ramadan tomorrow, so it is very much it's a month of giving, so thank you very much.
Knowledge gift, yep.
What's the discount code? How can we get it?
It's Allsopp 20, so it's 20% off, but that's on the Routledge website, not on Amazon.
And what we'll do is we'll link all of the information in the bottom of the video, so you can check it out there. Bit of Dubai news before we wrap things up on taking care of business. So UAE consumer spending was up 19% last year, according to Majid Al Fateh. They said leisure and entertainment was up 29%, so people clearly go into the cinema quite a lot. Fashion was up 25%, hypermarkets and supermarkets were up 11%, general retail up 9%. That was UAE retail. Thoughts on that?
It's all good, isn't it?
Sounds good. It's all good. Sounds good to me. People got more money in their pockets, spending more money.
Well, they've got money to buy my book.
Exactly that. Dubai now has a Chinatown. Located in Dubai Mall, visitors now can visit there and take pictures with a giant panda. They can eat there. And I think, clearly, they're gearing up for what will be maybe and hopefully a huge influx of Chinese coming to the city.
Yep, we missed them. They're coming back.
Come back, that's what we say. And lastly, we talked about Dubai being a smart city. So certainly when I was growing up, I used to, getting around my hometown, hailing a taxi and calling people down. Them days are over, according to Dubai. So what they're saying now is 80% of all taxi journeys will be e-hailing service only. So what they're saying is you can only book a taxi via an app. So great for safety. Knowing who your person is being hooked up by, and no more waiting in the sweaty sun and sticking your hand out for a taxi.
And good planning to book the taxi you need, didn't it?
Exactly, yeah. So all good things. Thank you very much, Michael, for joining us and taking care of business. It's been a real pleasure, and hopefully you'll join us again. Please make sure check out the book. You want to learn anything about Dubai real estate and the mechanics, what it's like to buy here, how do you buy here. Got to read this book, and all the information will be on the links below. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. Bye-bye.